So the first thing that you're going to want to do, we're trying to work on this shell rattle thing, and I've already removed the factory speaker out here, but this looks like some sort of small ESU baffle. It's 2 speakers. It's crackly, not very good. Initially I first took off the shell, but you actually don't even have to do that. This rear cover here will actually come off. Kind of similar to the way they used to on the Gevos. And I've been test fitting some other speakers I'm going to try putting in there, but really all that it's in there is there's a little board here, which this just kind of snaps into. And of course there's 2 speaker wires there, and I'm just going to run those to a different type of speaker and see what kind of result we get. So I put in some TDS small speakers, and they're cube speakers, and since it's an ESU decoder you can do 2 of them, just kind of as the factory Intermountain setup was. So we're going to go ahead and put this back on here. See how it sounds. I think we're on all the way there. Let's go ahead and fire it up. So it seems like it's about the same volume as what the factory setup was that was in there. I don't know if those are ESU speakers or not. A lot of the Sugar Cube speakers are kind of generic, so they're probably not ESU specifically. So I don't want to throw dirt on ESU there because it may not necessarily be their product. But the speakers that are in there are really crackly and kind of loud, but not in a good way. And this doesn't seem to have any issues here. There's a little bit of rattle when you hit the horn, but certainly better, definitely at idle. No real difference there, so I think that's definitely a cure for it. So don't necessarily have to do these speakers. I'll put some links in the description of what speakers I did use. Also, this is cranked up to max volume, I believe, also, so this is about as loud as it's going to get. But definite improvement there, for sure. So next we're going to take a look at fixing the ditch lights and a couple other programming things in here. So the next issue here, which is going to be pertaining to the ditch lights, from the factory, these incorrectly have them flashing. For some railroads it is correct, for BNSF it's not. And pretty much depending on which railroad that you model, you'll know whether you can do this or not. I'm sure the BNSF guys know that this is not something that they're supposed to have. And what it does is when you hit the horn, they're incorrectly flashing. So what you'll want to do first is to go to your programmer or program on the main, whatever it is that you do, and you'll want to set CV32 to a value of 2. And it's important that you do this first because it's an index CV, which means that it's there's many different CVs beyond the normal 255 that are usually accessible with older DCC decoders, but on these newer ones they have many different layers. But it's important that you hit CV32 to 2 first. Once that's been done, then you'll go to CV316 and you'll want to hit a value of 0. Alright, so I got that programmed in there. And we're going to go ahead and hit the horn again. And perfect, they don't flash. Now it is typical that the horn come on along with the e-bell. You can disable that also, however it's prototypical to have the e-bell come on with it, so I'm just going to leave it on. In the instruction manual, I believe there is things in there where you can determine whether you want that to come on or not. That's up to you. But that's about all I'm going to show for this part of it here. One of the things that I forgot to cover in the first video I made about this Intermountain Tier 4 engine was the speeds that it was able to hit. And this is important to remember because some of the Gevos that Intermountain's done, you know, even the ones that have been out several years ago, they had a top speed problem. And with those, what would end up happening is the top speed would be so slow, sometimes even up to 55 scale miles an hour, that I really couldn't run it with most of my other locomotives because it just couldn't speed match or reach the top end speed of most of my other locomotives. So what I set pretty much as a speed minimum, actually a maximum for all of my freight engines, is 70 miles an hour. And then right at about half throttle, I usually have it set for 35 miles an hour. And how I do that is with my speedometer here. So we're going to run it through two different tests. One is minimum speed, which usually if you're getting under about 1.2 miles an hour at speed step 1, that's pretty good. Just having some trouble actually getting it to specifically 1. There we go. So we'll see what it hits here on the low end. I've not done any programming to the CVs at all as far as motor control. So this is what it is out of the box. So it's saying 1.4. It's a little bit on the high end, but definitely not bad. So we'll go ahead and wind it up to full speed here. And turn on the sound too. Sometimes with the sound on, they run a little bit slower. '83. Let's see if it picks up a little more. '86. '87. We'll give it one more pass here. '89. Good enough there. So pretty much you get the picture there. So 83 miles an hour is more than enough speed pretty much for you to go over really anything. And there are a couple places out west where with the BNSF they actually do have 75-mile-an-hour freight trains. So if that's something that you're looking to duplicate, this is an excellent engine for that. Not every freight locomotive out there packs an 89 mile an hour top speed, so that's pretty good. I won't run it that fast, and like I said, I'm going to knock it back to about 70 miles an hour to match the rest of my fleet. But I mean, you can certainly run it as quick as you want to. But it's nice that it's not limited to 50 or 55 miles an hour like the older Intermountains. So a definite improvement in the motor category there. And I believe that's all of the things that I had to show you on this extra video here. Kind of missed a couple of things in the first video. I didn't plan to cover every single thing in the first video just because it would have been probably an hour long. So I decided it was best to split it up into 2 parts. And with this video being more of the scope of the things that you can fix and some of the different capabilities that I didn't show in the first video. So I hope that this gives you almost everything that you want to know about these. And not really sure what else is in the pipeline to come. Probably some projects on old stuff like the Excella. And I have some centipedes from Broadway that I'm going to be putting sound into when the decoders come. Some Aces are getting sound, some Gevos are getting sound. But we'll cross those bridges when we get to them.